Kakalosh Boker Or, Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Yomi Daf Kav Gimel Amud Aleph 23a1. Says Mishnah, Dinei Mamonot Bishlosha. Whenever we're going to be doing Dinei Mamonot, it's always going to be with three dayanim. Ze borel lo echad, veze borel lo echad, ushnehem borelim lahem echad. Divrei Rabbi means. So the way that you do it is what we call nowadays zabla'a, by the way, which is basically ze borel lo echad. That's why it's called zabla'a. Zain bet lamed aleph. Right? Ze borel lo echad, veze borel lo echad, ushnehem borelim lahem od echad, which means one of the litigants is going to choose one dayan. The other litigant is going to choose another dayan. And then between the two dayanim, they choose a third dayan. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Hachamim omrim v'chachamim come and they say, Shne dayanim boridim lahem od echad. The two dayanim which were going to be chosen, they're going to choose, right, od echad. Okay? Which means that according to Rabbi Meir, it was the two litigants together are choosing the third dayan, and according to Chachamim, it's not going to be the two dayanim together. According to Rabbi Meir, it's the two litigants, and according to Chachamim, it's the two dayanim. Okay, ze posel dayano shel ze, veze posel dayano shel ze. So each one could disqualify the dayan of the other person, right? Why? Because obviously, if he's going to be disqualified for an interest or something else that's going to be involved, he could disqualify him. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Chachamim come and they say, Ematai, when can one person come and posel the dayan of the other person? Right? Or psulim. Only if he brings a proof that be'emet that they're either a family member or he's pasul ladin for whatever reason. But if it's a kosher dayan or it's a mumche mipi bedin, he cannot disqualify him. I mean, he wants to say, he's got an interest. Sorry, that you cannot prove. Right, that is something. If he had an interest, he would have occurred. I forgot the word in English. He would have removed himself from the case, right? But excuse himself. No, but there's a better word. There's right, but there's so what happens? But he says over here, right? If right now he does bring a proof that he's going to be a family member of pasul, so then it's going to be okay. So each one could come and disqualify the edim, right, of each other as well. I mean, not only just the dayanim, so to the edim as well. Okay, so he says, right? These are the words that Rabbi Meir. Chachamim can say the exact same yisod. When can they come and disqualify the witnesses? Only if he brings a proof that they are family members or they are going to be psulim, that means pasul for whatever reason it is. But if they're going to be kosher witnesses, he cannot make them into pasul. Okay, fine. That was a Mishnah. We did this in Mishnah Yomi. It was very, very simple. Right? Let's continue. Okay, and it goes like this. Gemara. What does it mean now that each one is going to come and they're going to be borer one witness of three dayanim? What does that mean exactly? Betzlata sage. We always thought that it was always enough three dayanim. So if you're going to tell me now ze boreh lo echad of the three dayanim and ze boreh lo echad of the three dayanim, he says, what's going on exactly? How does that make sense? The Mishnah itself says dinei mamno bishlosha. So then how could you tell me now that each one is going to choose one witness? So says the Gemara, this is what it means to say, ze boreh lo bedin echad veze boreh lo bedin echad, right? Shnehem borelim lahem od echad. Right? Each one wants to be judged in a certain bedin, right? So what happens? So he says they have to take another dayan. Okay, they have to take another bedin, right? And therefore one cannot force the other one to be judged in a bedin that he does not want to be judged in. Okay, but for sure you don't need more than three dayanim. So says the Gemara, vafilu loveh matzi me'akev, and even a loveh could be me'akev that he doesn't want to go in front of a bedin of the malveh. Okay, he could say, I don't want to go in front of the bedin. So says the Gemara, "V'hamar Rabbi Elazar lo shanu ela malveh, aval loveh kofin oto v'dan be'ido." What does that mean? When do we say that you have a choice not to come, right? Because you want to go, let's say, for example, to a different city. That's only the malveh. But the loveh, you could actually force him to go to the bedin. He goes to the bedin of his city. Okay, why? We're going to explain now, right? So basically, according to Rabbi Elazar, there was no difference, right, between the loveh and the malveh. But the Gemara is saying it in his name that no, that there is going to be a difference between them. Kedamar Rabbi Yochanan, just like Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, Be'arkaot shebeSuria shanu. We're talking about the arkaot of Surya. Ve'hachanami, so here we're talking about the arkaot of Surya, which means that they're not baki in the Torah. So mina din, they're not actually kosher to be judges because they don't judge on people in Torah. But the people of the city went and made them into like shofetim and so on and so forth. So therefore, even in such a case, right, you're going to come and you're going to go to a different city. Aval mumchim, but if you have dayanim mumchim which are bekin, lo, you're not allowed to come and start saying, you know what, I want a different city. So Rav Papa says, afilu tema mumchim, even if you're going to tell me that they're mumchim, kegon beidina de Ravuna de Rav Chasta, like the bedin of Ravuna and Rav Chasta, to Elmaleh, that he could come and he could tell him, Mika matarat tachne. He says, what? Are you going to come and take me to a far off place? What's going on here? Right? What does that mean? Since the betin that the lovet chose is not that very far, so it's not considered a ticha. So therefore, there's nothing here. So tonight we learned in our Mishnah, v'chachamim omrim, chachamim come and they say, yeah, chachamim come and they say, yeah, shne dayanim bodin lahem od echad. You have two dayanim that they're going to come and they're going to choose another dayan. Now, if you're going to tell me, just like we said before, betin, that we're talking about that each one is going to choose a betin, betin batar de pasleru. He says, one second, if the betin they came and after they came and they made them pasula azlu barulu bedin acharim, they're going to choose another betin. What does that mean? They came and they said, you know what, they're going to be psulim for whatever reason it was, right? So therefore they're going to choose another bedin. Now they're going to come and they're going to choose another one. Ve'od, and furthermore, what does it mean? Zebor lecha ve'zebor lecha. What does it mean? Each one is going to come and choose one. What does that mean? So he says, Elahachi kamar. This is what it means to say. Kesheze borelo dayan echad ve'zel borelo dayan echad shnehem borlim lo od echad. Meaning like this. This is the way that I explained it to you already at the beginning, right, in the Mishnah. But the Gemara was having a havamina that it wasn't that they were choosing a dayan, that each one is choosing a dayan, and then between the two litigants, they're choosing a third dayan, or between the two rabbis, according to Chachamim, they're choosing the two dayanim, they're choosing a third dayan. But rather, what's happening is that in the havamina they thought that we're talking about bedins, batedim, and therefore what happens is, right, that we are talking about batedinim, right, and now we answer, no, we're not talking about batedinim, we're talking about the dayanim. So therefore, when we're talking about the dayanim, right, each one is going to come and choose one, and then between the two dayanim, they're going to choose the third dayan. Okay?
So the first two dayanim don't have a bit.
Why is it that we're going to do this? Amri b'ma'arava, as we said in Eretz Yisrael, Mishmet Rabbi Zera, in the name of Rabbi Zera, mitoch shezeh borel lo dayan echad, vezeh borel lo dayan echad, u'shnehem borerin lo lahem od echad, yotzeh adin lamito. So therefore, it's going to happen that it's going to come out to the din ha'emet, right? Why? Because basically each one is, looking for the best of them. That's what they're trying to say then, and therefore and you have the third one which is there, so they're all trying to come into a good. Meaning, it's not that it's only one-sided, because at the end of the day, everybody's going to be part of it. Fine. The two dots says, Chachamim omrim, it's not that the two litigants are choosing the third dayan, it's the two dayanim which are choosing the third dayan. So name of Rav Yehuda Amarav Kami Palge. Why don't we just say that this is a machloket within the words of Rabbi Yehuda Amarav? Ta'amar Rav Yehuda Amarav says Rav Yehuda Amarav, Ena edim chotmim ashtar, ela im ken yodim mit chotem imahen. The edim are not going to come and sign on a document unless they know who's signing with them. Okay? Because maybe it's going to be another ed pasul or whatever it is, and then it's going to become a problem, which means dayanim will never sit on a case unless they know who's the other dayanim there. Why? Because then what's going to happen is maybe you're going to have a bad erkev. I'm not going to sit with so therefore they're never going to sit unless they know who's sitting with them on the case. Rabbi Meir let the Rav Yehuda Amarav. So Rabbi Meir does not hold of Rav Yehuda Amarav. Rabbanan it led the Rav Yehuda Amarav, and Rabbanan hold of Rav Yehuda and the name of Rav. Okay. So says the Gemara, no. It's not that the machloket is, do you hold of Rav Yehuda Amarav or not? Everyone holds of Rav Yehuda Amarav. Meaning nobody will come, right, and sit down unless you know who's sitting with you. Ela, he says, obviously they need the dat to know it. What is a machloket? Dat ba'alei adinim. Rabbi Meir Savar, Meir holds, dat ba'alei dinim nami ba'inan. Rabbanan Savri, dat dinim ba'inan, dat ba'alei dinim lo ba'inan. Which means like this. For sure, if I'm a dayan, I'm not going to sit down unless I know who's judging with me. That's for sure. Why? Because if I'm going to have this dayan, lo matim. I don't sit down, gamarnu. So that's for sure. There's no question whatsoever. And that is Rav Yehuda Amarav, and that according to everybody. The question is, do the litigants have to agree or not? So according to Shittat Rabbi Meir, the litigants also have to agree to ki'ilu the herkev, to the full set of dayanim. But according to Rabbanan, the dayanim have to know. But the Balei Dinim, they don't have to know. Meaning they don't have to, we come, this is the way that it's done, Gamarnu. They don't have to start coming and agreeing to the third dayan or to, no, that's it. So Gufa Amar Rav Yudam Rav. That's exactly what Rav Yudam Rav said. Meaning a witness will never sign unless he knows who's signing with him. So Tanim Yachiv also learned this in the Braita. Kacha Yuniki Adat Shebushlaim Osim Lo Yuchotubim LaShalom Ken Yodim Yichotabem Lo Yeshuvim Vedin Elam Ken Yodim Yeshuvalem Lo Yichosim Suda Elam Ken Misev Mehen, which means the Nikiyah Dat in Yerushalayim they had this minhag. They would never come and sign unless whose other signature. They know who the other ed is. They're going to testify as well. They don't. Sorry, not for me. The same thing. Not only just signing on a document, because that was the first one, which is the Chotmim al Ashtar, Reshvim al Betin. They want to know who's there, Kev. Who else is sitting with me today, right? If it's Matim, no Matim, they're not going to do it. And the third thing is even going to a Seudah, meaning they would never go to a Seudah and sit down. They have to know where the table is. Who's sitting on the table? Who's sitting with them? Right? Why? No Matim. So they don't go. Right? They don't go. They're never going to go unless they know who's going to be with them. Okay. Yes, but that usually they don't have a choice, right? But fine. Each one is going to be posel the other person's dayan. That was the shita of Rabbi Meir. So says the Gemara, kol kimine de pasil dayane. Why you could just come and just be posel a dayan without any reason? No, he's not matim. He's a dayan. What does that mean? Amar Rabbi Yochanan says again, we're talking about the which means that they're not real dayanim, right? And therefore, since they were not real dayanim, so therefore, what? Right? Which means that since they're not bekim bedin Torah, so therefore what happens is that you don't have to actually come and you don't have to accept them. Aval mumchim, but if they're going to be experts, lo, right? It's not true. Right? Why? Because if they're an expert, you can't disqualify them. Meaning that the kaot of Surya, right, was a certain din, right? But here it's something different. Hamidiktani seifa, but that which we learned in the seifa. Chachamim omrim, Chachamim come and they say, ematai, when are the Baalei Din are going to be posel the danim izman shemevi raya shen krovim upsulim? When they're going to come and they're going to bring a proof that they're going to be krovim or psulim. Avalim ayuk sherin o mumuchim pnimi bedin enu yochol poslam. But if they're going to be kosher or they're going to be mumuchim from a bedin, you can't just come and be poselotam. Miklal, so it comes out Rabbi Meir mumchim nami kamar. Right? What does that mean? That Rabbi Meir, he comes and he says, right, that it's not going to be right mumchim. So says the Gemara, hachi kamar. This is what it means to say. Aval im hayu ksherim, if they were going to be kosher, nasu kemumchim mipi bedin. So then it's ki'ilu they're like a mumchim from a bedin. Ve'eno yichol poslan, you cannot make them into pasul. So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Amrulo Rabbi Meir, he told Rabbi Meir, he says, Lav kol emenu sheposel dayan shemuchel rabim. What, he could just come and just be posel a dayan, which is a mumche to the public? So says the Gemara, Eima lo kol emenu sheposel dayan sheimchu rabim alehem. Right? They cannot come and be posel a dayan, which they made already as a mumche onto them. And that's what we also learned in the Braita, leolam posel veolech. Really, be'emet, the Baldin could come and be posel the dayanim ad shekabel alav bedin shemumchel rabim, until the dayan is going to be accepted as a mumchel rabim. Divrei Rabbi Meir. These are the words of Rabbi Meir, which means that mumchim, Rabbi Meir does agree that you cannot be posel. You cannot be posel a mumchim. Okay, fine. So now he comes and he says like this. He says, right? Veha edim kemumchim dami. Says 1 second, but edim are like mumchim, right? Why? Because to do with an ed, you don't have to be an expert in dayanut. Rabbi Meir says that each one could come and they could just be posel the other person's edim. So answers the Gemara, ha'it maralai was actually stated, and it says, Amar Shakish pe kadosh yomar davar zeh. What, are you actually even asking this question? So he says, Tani edo, which means the one ed. That means he could be posel one ed yachid, right? Which the Torah never said that you could have one ed. You always need two edim. So therefore, right, also you cannot be posel a dayan mumche, right? So he says, edo lemai. What does it mean, one ed? Right? If you're going to tell me now it's for money, the Torah says you're not allowed to have one ed. If it's going to be a shavua, so then they believe them like two people. So what's going on here? So answers the Gemara, really we're talking about mammon. What are we dealing with? The kable alei kebetrei, right? That he accepted upon himself like two people. So my Kamashmalan, right? What are we coming and what are we teaching us exactly? Right? So he comes and he says, right? He comes and he says like this. The matzi hadarbe, right? Because the baldin could come and could retract, right? So he says, we already learned this, that that a baldin could retract. Tanina, we already learned, and this is going to be a mishnah later on. Amar lo ne'eman alai abba, or ne'eman alai avicha, ne'emanim alai shlosha bakar. Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir says, yachol lachzor bo. You could retract. The chachamim omrim, chachamim say, en yachol lachzor bo. So this machloket, can you retract? Meaning like this. Imagine right now I come in and say, you know what? I don't mind. I'll go to Bedin, even if your father's the day. I don't mind. I'll accept it. Can I retract or not? So that's going to come out. It's a machloke between Rabbi Meir and Chachamim. So therefore, this concept that you could retract, right? We already learned it. Because we said, really, we're talking about Mammon, and you accepted the one witness, Ke'ilu, it's two witnesses. And then all of a sudden, what do you want to say? You want to retract. Well, we already learned about retracting. It's going to be the next Mishnah, right? Ve'amar Rav Dimi, look at Kav Gimel Amubet, 23b. Ve'amar Rav Dimi bered Rav Nachman bered Rav Yosef, kegon tekablei alei bechad. Right, we're talking about that you accepted, right? What does that mean? You accepted it with one dayan out of the three. That somebody that has two dayanim ksherim, even if he wanted to come and to retract, since mina Torah, it's pasul, we can learn from here that even in the case of our Mishnah, that if he accepted upon himself, right, to, with one ed to becoming two, he could retract according to Rabbi Meir. Why? Because since Mina Torah, one ed is not good, so therefore, why do we need our Mishnah to teach it? So answers the Gemara, you need it. Why? The itana abba ve'avicha, as if it was only the case later on, which is basically that, my father or your father could judge us, there he cannot retract. Why? He says, Mishum, the abba ve'avicha chazul alma, because they're fitting for everybody else. Meaning, if my father's a dayan, or your father's a dayan, can they judge other people? Yes. So the fact that they're fitting for other people, the only reason why they cannot judge us is just because of the relationship. So if I accept it, right, whether it's going to be my father, you accept it, it's my father, whichever, meaning that as long as, so then that's it. Aval chad kebeitrei, but if he accepted one ed, the one ed is never good, I would say that he actually agrees to Rabbi Meir, which means that which the Chachamim are going to be modet to Rabbi Meir, that even according to them, you could retract, right? Basically like this. When we said that you could retract or not, there was a machloket, can you retract or not? If I come and I say, let's say I'm going to go with your father being the dayan, or you agree that my father is going to be the dayan, right? So in such a case, there's a machloket, Rabbi Meir and Chachamim, can you retract or not retract? Okay, machloket, can you retract or not retract? Okay. There's another case now. One witness, and I came and I made him like two. And now I say, you could retract. And it's the same machloket. So I say, why do I need the two different places to say machloket? Selam and shos. What's the difference? What the concept is, I can retract or not retract, right? So what's the difference? Says the Gemara, there's a huge difference. You know what the difference is? When it's one ed is never kosher. Not for me, not for you, not for anybody. So therefore, when I want to come and I want to disqualify him, I would have thought that even according to Chachamim, here Chachamim agree that I'm allowed to retract. Why? Because the one ed is never kosher. So since the one ed is never kosher, even Chachamim agree you're allowed to retract, right? But in the case of my father, your father, he was a good dayan for everybody else. So here you cannot retract. So that's that side of the coin. The other way, he says, right? He says, if the Mishnah only taught us the machloket of Rabbi Meir and Chachamim to do with one ed becoming two, only in that case I would say that Rabbi Meir comes and he says that you could retract. He says because one ed is not fitting for anything. But in the case of the dayan, so maybe Be'emet Rabbi Meir agrees with Chachamim. So that's why I needed both machlokot. Meaning we have two machlokot. Can you retract or not retract? To do with I accepted one ed to become like two. That's one case machloket Rabbi Meir and Chachamim, right? That you're allowed to retract or not retract. And the second case, what happens if I say I'm going to go to judgment, and your father's my dayan, right? And I'm going against you, but I accepted it. Or the other way, vice versa. You come to the bedin and you're accepting my father. Can you retract or not retract? Again, a machloket Rabbi Meir and Chachamim, and we need both machlokot. Because if not, then I would have said that each one agrees to each other. So therefore, that's why we needed both cases of, right, the machlokot. That's the Gemara. Hami diktani reisha. The fact that we learned in the reisha dayano. Right? What does that mean? We learned in the reisha ze posel dayano lashon yachid, and the seifa we said ze posel edav belashon rabim. Alma davka katani. So it comes out from the Mishnah that it's only in that case. Right? That means it's not like there was a mistake in the Girsah or something like that. So it comes out that according to Rabbi Meir, the Baldin could be posel two edim. And then again, we go back to the original question, right? What's going on? Right? If Yachol the Baldin to be posel the two edim, if the Torah made them kosher, how do you come and you just make them pasul? Meaning beforehand we said, no, it's only one ed. So we said it made sense. Why? Because one ed is never kosher, but you accepted upon yourself this one witness, like two witnesses. And now you want to retract or not retract. Okay, I could hear it. But if you're going to tell me that it's two witnesses, and now you're going to just posel the two witnesses, what's going on? So Amar Rabbi Elazar says Rabbi Elazar, bevahu ve'acher leposlan. The Baldin and another witness are coming to be posel, the edim, right? And therefore, in such a case, that's the case. Meaning, you're one of the people to disqualify the two edim. So it's you and another ed. Because again, to disqualify two edim, you also need two edim. Understand? It can't just be that I'm going to come and I'm going to disqualify. No, not edim zomim. Nothing to do with edim zomim, right? Family members pasul because of Masechet Bekulia, whatever it is. But you need two witnesses. I cannot just come and say and come to Bedin. I have two witnesses come against me. I say, he's a gambler. You have to bring proof. Oh, you need two edim, right? So it's not zomimim, but zomimim is good. But you need two witnesses. So what happens now is, right, is that I come, I'm the litigant, right? I'm the defendant, and I come and I have another head, right? And he comes and he does that. Okay? So he says the Gemara, Kol kebine, can he do such a thing? Nogea be'adutu. He's nogea b'davar. How are you going to use the litigant himself to combine with another witness to go against these edim? These edim, they're going to go against him. So how does he now combine with somebody else to go against them? So Amar Ravacha bered Ravika, kegon shekara lav id ed. We're talking about that the Baldin with the other ed, they already came and they made an idur, right? And therefore, that means they made like a riot. They made something. They made noise, right? So says the Gemara, id ed dema. What are we talking about exactly? What did they say? Ilema id ed de gazanuta. Maybe they're gazanim. So kol kemine, can you do it again? He's no b'davar. Ela id ed de b'gam mishpacha. He's going to be mad that really be'emet, this person, for example, is an Eved Kenani. So therefore, he cannot come and he cannot testify. So Rabbi Meir holds, Hanea mishpacha kamisade, on every mishpacha of the Ed they're testifying, ve'ihu mimela kapasil, and therefore mimela, he's going to become pasul. But Rabbanan hold, no, sof no gebedetuhom. Meaning like this. What happens right now, I could get rid of the Edim very easily. But is it direct or indirect? So imagine right now, the two witnesses come and they're going to testify about me. And I come and I go with my good friend Avi here, and we come and we say, these guys, they come, John Doe, his family is Eved Kenani. Now, I'm not testifying about him. Testifying, let's say, about his father. But now what happens is, the second that I make that the father is an Eved Kenani, he's also an Eved Kenani, it's not direct. And therefore, what happens is, the fact that I didn't testify direct upon him, so therefore, according to Shtat Rabbi Meir, it's going to be okay. Why? A mishpacha kamisade. You only testify about the family. But not on that. The iu mimela kapasi. He's going to become pasul mimela. But the rabbis hold, sof nogea by the Torah. He says, no, you're still nogea. And therefore, the second that you get into that's it. So, kiata Rav Dimi amar Rabbi Yochanan. When Rav Dimi came, he said the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Machloket is bishtek kitei. The machloket here is talking about two kitei edim, right? That he comes and he says, I've got two kitei edim on something, but benatayim he only brought one, and the baldin sheni wants to come and wants to be mitzaref, to be posel this one, meaning there's still another group of witnesses, but he didn't bring them yet. So the question is, can I come now and disqualify, right, this one group, because technically there's supposed to be a second group. So therefore, I'm not really disqualifying all the witnesses, because the guy said, I'm going to bring another group. But he only brought one for now. So can I do that? Rabbi Meir comes and he says, Tzarich levarer. We have to actually be'emet start looking into the ta'ana of everything, the bedin. And if he comes and he says that he's got 2 kitot of edim, you have to bring both of them. And therefore, when you're going to come and you're going to be posel with the first cut, you're not nogea be'edut. Why? Because it doesn't matter. You still have another group against you. So you're not really doing anything. Rabbanan Savri, Rabbanan hold, no. Eno tzarich levared. You don't have to start checking everything. And therefore, even though at the beginning he said that you have 2 groups of witnesses, even if he brings one, it's still fine. Aval b'vat right? But if it's going to be that the Baldina Rishon comes and he does it, that he only has 1 cut, according to everybody, you can be poselotam. Because then you're no gabadava. So according to everybody, it's not going to work. So that means the only machloke between Rabbi Meir and Chachamim is if the guy came into Bedin, I've got 2 groups of witnesses against him. You say, okay, very good. He brings 1 group, and then we want to come, we want to destroy them. So we want to come, we want to say, whatever the case is, whatever the Gazanim, they're this or that. No gabadavar. No. Why? Because anyway, there's another group coming. So according to Rabbi, another group coming. You don't have to worry about it. They're not no gabadava. Why? Because there's another group. According to Chachamim, he doesn't have to bring another group. If he brought the 1 group, come on, that's it. So he is no gabadava, man. Okay?
Meaning you cannot do it.
According to Chachamim, no. But if it's going to be in 1 shot, meaning that they only brought 1 group, according to everybody, you can't do it. There's no gabadut. Okay? Amru lefanav Rav Ami Ravasi. He says Rav Ami Ravasi. What happens though if there's only going to be 1 group? Can he come and he could disqualify them? Or en sham ela katachat? So says the Gemara, what does that mean? En sham ela katachat? You all just said that according to everybody, you can't disqualify them. Meaning, if there's only 1 group of witnesses, according to everybody, we're no gabadavar. So if I'm no gabadavar, I can never disqualify 1 group. Ela, but rather nimtzat kat shniya krovim upsalim mahut. What happens if after we testified, all of a sudden now the second one became pasul? Meaning like this. What happened? The first group of witnesses, the guy comes in, I have two groups of witnesses against you. Okay, bring them on. So he brings the first group. I come with Avi, we disqualify them. Why? Gazanim, this, that. Nogea b'davar. No, there's another group. Right? Again, machloket Rabbi Meir and Rabbanan, but again, there's another group. Disqualify them. No problem. Okay. All of a sudden, okay, bring them on. Brings the next group. They become pasul. Why do they become pasul? I don't have to do anything. They were found to be family members, right? Or psulim for whatever reason, but the Dayin found them psulim. I didn't have to do anything. So now the question is, now what happens? Because when I disqualified the first group, I was not nogea b'davar. Meaning there's the second group, right? I don't even know who you're bringing. You don't have to tell me who you're bringing, right? And you said that you're going to bring a second group. That's fine. But now the second group does come, and now all of a sudden they became pasul. So what's halacha now? So Elmaleh says the Rav Ami to Ravasi. Rav Ami Ravasi. He says, this is Rav Yochanan answering to Rav Ami Ravasi. Kvar heidu edim arishonim. The Baldin, right, already came and he already testified to be posel. So therefore, that's it, right? And therefore, right, if right now he was not nogea b'davar, so therefore now you're going to say what? Retroactively, you were nogea b'davar, meaning you already gave the testimony. Ikadam. Some people say, Amravashi kvar heidu edim arishonim. Right? It wasn't really Rabbi Yochanan, it was Ravashi that says that the first ones already came and they give their testimony. So Neima beprukta de Bishimon ben Gamliel kami palge. Why don't we just say that this is a machlok between Rabbi and Shimon Gamliel? Right? Why? The time we learned in Braita, Habali don bishtar v'chazaka. If somebody comes and he wants to be judged and he's got a shtar and he's got chazaka, and he don bishtar, he's going to be judged with a shtar. Right? That means he has to bring the shtar. And if he doesn't bring the shtar, he loses out, even though he's got a chazakah. These are the words of Rabbi, right? Now, v'derech klal edei chazakah, right, or here, so then what's the problem? Rashbag says, no, nidom chazakah. He's going to be zocheh with the chazakah of shalosh shanim. All he has to do is just bring, right, the edim on the chazakah. So we're going to ask the following question: chazakah velo bishtar? What? It's only in chazakah, not on the shtar. So says the Gemara, you're right. Ela ema af b'chazakah. Meaning, according to Shidat Rashbag, I come to Bedin and I say, I've got 2 proofs, either shtar or chazakah. But bring both. And I could use either or. Meaning, even if you're going to come and you're going to destroy one, I could still use the second one. But it's not that I need both. According to Shitat Rabbi, the second that you said it's shtar, you have to use the shtar. You can't use chazakah anymore. The Kaimalan, and we're going to pass Kila Maskana. The machlokat here is, do you have to come and be mevarer or not? Do the Baldin have to come and call the Varav or not? According to Rabbi, You have to bring the shtar in order to be be'emet mevared tanato. And according to the Rashbag, it's already just enough to bring a de chazakah. You don't have to actually start looking into the shtar. Meaning, if it was much easier just bringing the 2 edim for the chazakah, that's it. That's all that you need. You don't need anything else. So says the Gemara, no. That's not that's the machloket. Aliba the Rashbag kulam lo plige. According to Rashbag, according to everybody, there's no machloket. That even according to Rabbi Meir in his shita, right? Be'emet, you do not need to come and look into it. Ki plige aliba the Rabbi, only according to Rabbi. That Rabbi means savar Rabbi, Rabbi Meir holds like Rabbi. You have to actually start looking into everything. But the rabbis are going to come and they're going to tell you, when did Rabbi say this? By chazakah de mikoach shtarakate, because he's coming from mikoach the shtar. But over here, the hani edim la mikoach edim achrinekati. That these edim are not coming from the koach of the edim. Afilu Rabbi modeh and then tzrich levarer. Even according to Rabbi, he's going to be modeh that you do not need to be mevarer. So kiata Ravin, when Ravin came, he said in the name of Yochanan, the reisha of the Mishnah that Rabbi Meir says that the Yachol Baldim could come and be posel, right? The Dayanim, he says be'edim psulin, the Dayanim ksherim. We're talking about the Edim are psulin and the Dayanim are going to be kesherim. Migu de pasle Edim, because right now the Edim are already psulim, so pasinami Dayane, so he can make also the Dayanim also psulim. Seifa, but the Seifa is talking about Dayanim psulim and the Edim ksherim. So the Migu de pasle Dayanim, pasle nami the Edim. So basically what they're trying to say is that they're trying to say that there's a Migu. The Chachamim come and they say that we don't say Migu, and therefore he's not going to be believed to be posel, neither the Dayanim nor the Edim.